Hello friends, this is Dr. Jason from Providence Neuro. Did you grow up thinking that some skills can be learned only as children, like learning to play a musical instrument, learning a new language, swimming, dancing, and even some sports? There is some truth to that because our brain is most plastic and moldable during childhood. But now scientists are discovering that neuroplasticity, that is the ability of the brain to learn, rewire, and adapt, persists throughout adulthood. Only the method of learning is different for children and adults. In this video, we'll find out how. The human embryo's brain produces twice as many neurons as we need as adults, and at birth, the baby's brain has 100 billion neurons. All these neurons are connected to one another through connections called synapses, and as the child grows, these neurons strengthen some connections and remove unwanted connections in a process called tuning and pruning. This formation of patterns in the brain's neuronal network is what is responsible for learning and new memories. Each new pattern in the neuronal network represents a new memory or a newly learned skill. Okay, so what is learning? Learning and formation of new memories is nothing but formation of new patterns in the neuronal network of the brain. So at birth, the brain of a child is like a blank slate. How do we start forming these brain patterns? Infants between 6 to 12 months of age develop an important milestone called joint attention. This joint attention or shared attention basically means the parent and the child are able to share their attention and look at something and enjoy the same thing. This is a major milestone for the baby. Only with joint attention, the babies are able to look at the toys that we show them and share the experience with us. For example, if you point to a ball and tell the baby, hey, there's a ball, the baby's brain forms a pattern that's the inner representation of the ball and connects the word ball with the object ball and the concept of ball. This is how babies start learning and develop their early concepts when their brains are still very plastic. As they grow up, children take the lead in discovering new objects. They look around and pick up whatever is attractive and they bring it to you to learn what it is. And again, depending on how you respond to that and what you teach them, they keep learning and they keep forming new patterns in their brain. For a child, there is something new and exciting in everything. And knowingly or unknowingly, every time we interact with a child, we end up teaching them something. We help them form new patterns and connections in the brain. And the brain keeps strengthening the familiar patterns, forming new patterns, and pruning out the unnecessary connections. This is called plasticity. New learning may include physical objects like balls or toys. It may include learning how to walk. It may include learning how to speak, and even concepts like gratitude, love, reciprocity, etc. All kinds of learning is made possible by formation of new patterns and connections in the brain and pruning out of unnecessary connections. So what we learn in the early days of our childhood is entirely dependent on our parents or caregivers. That's why we all grow up to view the world somewhat differently based on our different backgrounds. For example, a child brought up in a farm may grow up thinking that using animal products is normal, whereas an urban child brought up in a vegetarian home may not find that idea comfortable. So our values are shaped by our childhood experiences. What happens in adulthood? Do we stop learning? No. The only difference is, in childhood the learning is more spontaneous, in adulthood the learning is less spontaneous and needs more focused effort. Even in adulthood, all learning is through shared attention. Sometimes the sharing of attention is face to face, sometimes it's through books or other media. Our brains retain some degree of plasticity throughout life. Let us see some examples of neuroplasticity in adulthood. Number 1. Recovering from stroke or brain injury. Most of the experience regarding neuroplasticity comes from patients who are recovering from stroke or brain injury. For example, some patients lose the ability to walk after a brain injury, and the way they learn to walk again is no different from the way how a child learns to walk for the first time. We see that when one part of the brain is damaged, the other parts of the brain can sometimes take over the function of the injured area and form the patterns and connections necessary for the patient to be able to walk again. This is made possible through consistent therapy like physiotherapy, speech therapy, and occupational therapy. So you see, there is only one difference between a child learning to walk and a brain injury survivor learning to walk. The child learns to walk somewhat spontaneously, but the brain injury survivor has to consistently attempt again and again and attend therapy sessions to be able to walk again. So we see that the stories of people who recover from brain injury are powerful testimonies for neuroplasticity. Number 2, mastering a new skill later in life. Earlier, people used to think that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but this has been debunked by neuroscience. Stories of people learning how to play a new musical instrument, learning a new sport, or taking up a new job in their 60s, 70s, and beyond are everywhere. These people are a living example of how the adult brain remains highly plastic. By engaging in this novel and challenging activities, these people are forcing their brain to form new connections and new patterns. And you know what's the bonus? Lifelong learning can actually improve mental health, improve cognitive function, and reduce the risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Number 3, overcoming mental health problems like chronic anxiety. Chronic anxiety and the tendency to worry can feel like a hardwired part of your personality, right? Some people think that they are born anxious. They become ingrained in the constant pattern of fear, anxiety, and constant worry. But you know the good news? They don't have to remain that way. Through practices like cognitive behavioral therapy and mindfulness exercises, these people can literally change the way the brain responds to stress. By repeatedly and intentionally shifting your attention from the worries to the present moment, you weaken the neural pathways associated with worry and strengthen the neural pathways associated with calm and presence. This is not just positive thinking, it's a physical rewiring of the brain's fear response system. Number 4, a change of personality. Earlier it was thought that personality develops in childhood and adults cannot truly transform their personality or character. Again, this has been proven wrong by numerous instances of transformation and healing in adults. We all know that people tend to change with changing social roles like getting married, having a child, or when taking up a new job. How many times have you heard people say that once he got married, he became more responsible? Once he had a child, he became more responsible, or something like that. All these are examples for neuroplasticity. Many times a change in environment or a newfound love or friendship can act as a catalyst for change in one's personality. We'll finish with a short story from a classic novel that illustrates the transforming power of unconditional love. The novel called Les Misérables by Victor Hugo tells the story of Jean Valjean, who is imprisoned for 19 years for a petty crime of stealing. For most of his life, Valjean was considered a thief. Nobody showed him any love, and so stealing was like second nature to him. After his release from prison, a bishop shows kindness to him, but what does Valjean do? He reciprocates by stealing some silver candles from the bishop. Later he is caught by the police inspector, but the turning point in his life comes when the bishop supports him by saying that he only gifted the candles to him. This act of unconditional love was something Valjean had never seen before in his life, and that transformed him and changed his life for good. This shows that miserable and wretched people need not remain that way. They can change. If you are chronically anxious, or if you have poor social skills, or if you have poor self-esteem, you don't have to remain that way. If you need to acquire a skill, it's never too late. It's never too late to heal, forgive, and grow. That's the power of neuroplasticity. So we see that lifelong learning is possible across all age groups. The only difference being, as adults, we need more powerful stimuli and more focused effort. There is a brain chemical called acetylcholine, which plays an important role in formation of new memories and acquiring new skills. So now the next question is, are there any ways to make your brain more rich in acetylcholine so that your brain becomes more like a baby's brain, a little bit more like a child's brain? How to make the brain more moldable and receptive to learning in adulthood? There are some ways to do that, and that's the subject of the next video. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a like if you found it useful and mention your opinion in the comment section. See you in the next video.